Good. Let's dive in. So our topic for today is how to find your dream job as a Scrum Master, Product Owner, Agile Coach in current market conditions. And the agenda is going to be primarily divided into these three parts. We're going to start with the mindsets for successful job search in current market conditions. What is it that is making certain candidates, certain job applicants, job searchers successful in the current market conditions as compared to many others that are struggling to find jobs? We'll then get into strategies for getting more interview calls. And then finally, the last part would be how to kill it in the interview so that you can eventually land the job of your dreams. So with this, let's dive into our first part, which is mindsets for successful job search in current market conditions. These mindsets is what I've noticed consistently differentiate, people that are struggling from others. The first one is what I call the mindset of mastery. No strategies, no hacks, no specific cheat codes, no references, no referrals, no recommendations are going to work if we truly do not have mastery in what we are applying for. And mastery is not just about understanding the what of the job that we're applying for. Everybody, for example, if we talk about the role of a Scrum Master or an Agile coach, everybody that applies for the job of an Agile coach or a Scrum Master understands what is Scrum, understands what is a sprint, understands what is sprint planning, understands what is a user story, understands what is a daily stand-up, understands what is a retrospective. Would you agree? Everybody understands those things. But what differentiates successful candidates from others is their deeper understanding around the nuances of what we are doing. Everybody understands those things that I mentioned, but very few people understand nuances around those things. For example, why in an Agile team is it preferred to use story points for work estimation as opposed to time for work estimation? Very few people can have a concise, to the point answer for that. Would you agree? Very few people get it. Very few people can understand what is the risk if in your team, one story point is used as an equivalent to 1 day. Anybody seen teams do that? 1 story point is a day, 2 story points. What is the risk of doing those things? Very few new Scrum Masters or even experienced Scrum Masters can help us understand those things and answer those specific questions. Very few Scrum Masters can help us answer the question, how do you know if a picture or a story is too big or too small? Isn't it? Very few people can answer the question, how would you know that you're investing enough in your architectural runway for the team? Heck, very few people know what architectural runway even is, isn't it? So mastering this content around what is Agile about, what is Scrum about, what are all these different concepts that very few people can answer the question, what does good architecture look like as compared to bad architecture? Very few people can have a concise answer for something as simple as what is DevOps, isn't it? And they're out there applying for jobs, and once in a while they get an interview call, but because they have all these unanswered things which are not clear in their mind, they're not able to get across the finish line. So understanding deeper details of what we are talking about, of course, this is not the topic for this session, but in these webinars on an ongoing basis, we talk about all these questions that I referred to. 2 weeks ago, we had a 90-minute session on demystifying DevOps. Anybody attended that session? right? And we spoke for 90 minutes, number of us, about what DevOps means. Last week, we had a session on how do you implement lean practices and principles in an Agile team, and what are the nuances around that. And those are finer details that, in my opinion, 1 out of 100 applicants can answer. All the questions that I referred to, in my experience, only 1 out of 100 applicants can answer all the questions that I just gave you examples of. And being able to get answers to those things would immediately set you apart from your competition, whether that is in your networking situations, whether that is an interview call, whether that is in a coffee chat you're having with a potential hiring manager. So that's going to be the first bit. Truly mastering what good tech development, good Agile, good Scrum, good Safe, what all of these things mean and what they look like. Sounds good? All right, let's get into the second one. The second one is pretty straightforward, but for many of us, it takes some time to truly master and appreciate this mindset, which is a mindset of selling. When we are in the job search process, we are essentially in a selling game. Would you agree? We have our potential clients, which is companies that are looking for your type of candidates, Scrum Masters, product owners, product managers, Agile coaches, and so on. And our goal is to communicate our offering, in our case, our expertise, to our potential customer in a way that resonates with them, so that we can eventually close the sale. But here's the good news. How many customers do you need in this sales process? How many customers? How many jobs are we looking for? Only one at a time, right? For most of us, one every few years, if at all. Can life be any easier than that? Only one customer is all we need. Only one opportunity, one person who's willing to give you a shot at the job of your dreams. But that being said, we got to make it easy for that person to say yes to the proposition that you have. We got to give that individual a reason for why you're the best individual for the job. But at the end, it's just that one sale that we are looking to crack. Quick check-in. Raise your hand if you're looking for, ideally, a job of a Scrum Master, just so we know how many, what's the breakdown here. Okay, good. And keep your hand up if you've not played the role of a Scrum Master in the past, which means you're switching careers and you are kind of on a little bit of an uphill climb. Okay, so half of us that are in the market for the job of a Scrum Master have not played the role of a Scrum Master before. Cool. Product owners, can you raise your hand if you're looking for a job as a product owner? Okay, good number. And again, keep your hand up if you have not formally played the role of a product owner in the past. Okay, so 25%, cool. And finally, Agile coaches, looking for more of an senior position as a coach. Okay, Surendra, Terry, Ben, Joseph. Okay, so number of us. And again, keep your hand up if you have not played that role in the past. All right, cool. Got it. So more than half of us, or about half of us, are looking for jobs that we have not played formally in careers so far. So that's the second mindset, sales. Let's move on to the third one. Third is what I call the slight edge principle. We are in competitive game. Job search is a competitive. Would you agree? There's often 100 applicants for one job. There's often 10, 15 candidates that are being interviewed for one job, which means we got to create a reason for the hiring manager to be able to see ourselves differently. In other words, we got to have some competitive advantage as compared to the rest of the candidate pool that our potential hiring manager would get into. One of my mentors, Roger Killen, who taught me a lot about just growth and career success and all these things, he would often say this to me. He'd say, Harry, if you want what only 5% of the people will have, then you've got to be willing to do what only 5% of the people will. Isn't it? That's simple math, no? But the challenge with many of us is that we are doing what 95% of the market is doing, and we're expecting the results that only 5% of the market is getting. So there's many different ways which we'll talk about that would help you develop that slight edge. But this is a mindset that I'm going to encourage you to keep in mind as we go into subsequent parts of our conversation and how we position ourselves, how we market ourselves, how we create our resume, how we look for certifications, how we interview when we get an interview call. All of those things need to embrace this slight edge principle. In other words, we've got to be able to communicate our competitive advantage, showcase our competitive advantage to the hiring managers and the hiring company, especially in current market conditions. You know, the market 12 months ago, 24 months ago was very different as compared to what it is right now. 24 months ago, CapEx investments, capital investments in our industry were at an all-time high, which means that a lot of companies were investing in new projects, new initiatives, and they were hiring more people, increasing their employee base. And now what has happened? Money's become expensive. Have you noticed that? Interest rates are at an all-time high across North America, across the world. And as a result, CapEx investments are coming down, which is therefore resulting in all these layoffs that we are noticing around us. So slight edge principle is going to be critical in this market. And finally, the last two are, you know, having the mindset and the tenacity to hear no at times, especially if you're changing careers, you're up against tough competition, you haven't played that exact same role in the process. You got to have, you know, thick skin to hear no, but at the same time, the last one is having the self-belief and cultivating the self-belief to be able to go through those no's so that you can land a yes for the job of your dreams. And self-belief is not something that happens on its own. What I've learned from my experience is you have to consciously build this self-belief. You have to work towards building this self-belief. If we're consistently hanging out with people which are kind of like naysayers, have you seen naysayers around you? It's very difficult to find a job right now. Nobody's able to find a job. People from your kind of background are having a hard time transitioning into these roles. I don't think it's going to work out for you. Have you heard people say those things? Now, those people are basically suppressing your self-belief. And most of those people would have good intentions, but they're not helping you in your journey. You got to hang out with people that help you elevate your self-belief, that help you believe that if it's worked for so many people, if hundreds and thousands of people have gone through the same exact process and landed the type of job that you're looking for, you can do that too. You got to hang out with people like this over here, which are on this journey of growth and pursuing the life of their dreams. Would you agree it's difficult to find people that are on that journey of growth and challenging the status quo, right? So you got to work towards finding those people, people that believe in themselves, and that belief would help rub off on you and vice versa. Making sense? So market is always good for certain individuals, but we got to embrace some of these other mindsets. We got to use the right approaches, the right strategies, so that we can eventually land the right job that we are looking for. With this, that brings us to the end of this section. Cool, let's move on. All right. So with this, we're ready for strategies for getting more interview calls. So the first part around this is, as simple as it sounds, we got to work towards building compelling resume and a LinkedIn account. Many people want a six-figure job or a multi-six-figure job, but they're hesitant in spending $300 on a resume specialist. The best money that you would likely spend would be on a resume specialist. Now, I do not have recommendations on who you should go with, but do your own shopping around. Find somebody who specializes in helping tech professionals build good resumes and eventually find a good job. But in my opinion, a few $100 that you would spend on a good resume and a good LinkedIn account would likely be a strong ROI for your job search process. Now, what do you need in a good resume? I'm going to highlight a few things that would help you get started, but eventually I would strongly recommend that you get some expert help on this. The first one is when you're writing a resume, you've got to think about, let's go with this first. I'm going to highlight a number of things. Outcome-focused statements, which is going to go hand in hand with what we call transferable skills. Transferable skills or transferable experiences. Let's start with the outcome-focused statements idea. Many resumes that I see, and we've had the good fortune of being with our hiring managers, over the last about 8-9 years, I've worked with 100+ clients, and we're currently working with 15, 20, 25 clients, and often our clients would invite us into their interview calls so that we can have a say and help identify candidates which truly have mastery in what we are looking to implement. And what I notice is that many applicants, in fact, most applicants do not have outcome-focused statements in their resume. Now, what is a non-outcome focused statement? A non-outcome focused statement that we often see in a Scrum Master's resume is something like, I facilitated events like sprint planning, for my team on an ongoing basis. Have you seen this kind of a bullet point in a Scrum Master's resume? Right now, that is a non-outcome focused statement. Worked with the product owner to refine user stories, blah, 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 blah. Seen those kind of bullet points? Now, who cares? Every Scrum Master is going to have those things on their resume, isn't it? Again, does not give you slight edge. It's going to make you look like everybody else. Outcome focused statements is something like enabled 24% increase in velocity for my team by helping them implement improved story writing techniques to reduce rework. You with me? Now that was an outcome focused statement. What's the template that you're going to use for this? I'll give you a template. Template is verb, business impact. Chris, if we can put it in chat. Verb, business impact by what I did. That's the template. Verb, business impact by what I did. So this is what I used in the example that I just provided. What was the verb? Help increase. What was the business impact? Increase velocity of the team by whatever you did, by helping implement DevOps, by facilitating good dependency management, by helping them refine story. You with me? Right? So what we did comes at the end of the process. enabled more effective project management to reduce delayed projects by what you did. Because hiring managers, if we have to use agile approaches, customer centricity, hiring managers are typically middle management to senior management. Would you agree? Middle management to senior management. Do you think those people care more about what you did, or they care more about the business impact? The business impact, right? So we're communicating directly to them in the language that most resonates with them, in using metrics and results that they hear about every single day in their job. So we start with business impact, but we eventually highlight what we did, because that is also an important part of what we've done in the previous job. And many of us, as we try and identify these things, you're going to run into scenarios, especially for us that are transitioning into newer careers, or you're looking to switch jobs and so on. You may not have exactly the same job description or role in your current job, but look for transferable skills. Now, nobody except for you, and maybe your hiring manager, but mostly just you, nobody other than you truly knows what you do in your current job, isn't it? You probably do 100 different things depending on the situation that you got. You probably at times you facilitate. Maybe at times you give a hand on requirements refinement. Maybe you also work with the portfolio management team. Maybe you worked in your organization to help standardize certain practices in the past. Maybe you trained certain individuals on a specific area. So nobody truly knows what you've done, and you've likely done 100 different things in the past. And it's up to you how you showcase what you've done in the past in alignment with what your future hiring managers are looking for. You with me? This is not about lying. It's about presenting what you got in a way that resonates with your customer, which is also where buzzwords come into play. Now, buzzwords are becoming more and more important in our job search process with the advancement of AI and machine learning. For most big companies that get more than 50 job applications for a specific role, they are using AI, and there's 7 or 8 different applications available in the market that would help you shortlist a small set of applications from a big pool of applications. And we recently saw this. One of our clients, which is a healthcare tech company, very popular in the United States, we posted a job for an Agile coach a few weeks ago. And within the first 48 hours, we got over 1,000 job applications. Now, who's going to look at those 1,000 job applications? What did we do? We looked at that software which helps us shortlist job applications, and we can specify how many shortlisted we want. We're like, okay, give us 25 which resonate with these buzzwords. So now those buzzwords are going to become critical, right? The most common buzzwords that we have seen around us that organizations are filtering on are, and again, Chris, if we can post these in chat. So things that you want to highlight in your resume, words that should be there in your resume are: number one, high-performing teams, if you are in the job of a Scrum Master or an Agile coach, potentially even product owners. Because often, the people that are filtering these applications are HR individuals. So they don't really understand the difference in between the Scrum Master and a product owner. In some companies, they just treat them the same way. So sometimes they might filter them on the same buzzwords, right? So high-performing teams is one of the common ones. DevOps, your resume has got to have the word DevOps in it. It's 100% guaranteed to be filtered on if that company is filtering resumes using a software. DevOps. Another one that you want to have is facilitation. We're looking for people that can facilitate events. You want to have conflict management in there. Often, especially in Scrum Masters, conflict management could be a filtration criteria. Another one is schedule management or managing schedules, especially if you are looking at a public sector type company where project schedules, deliverables are still one of their more important criteria. You want to have the word backlog in your resume. You want to have the word automation in your resume. A lot of companies are looking for test automation and they want to invest more and more in automating their pipelines. That is something you want to highlight. You want to have the word continuous integration, continuous deployment in your resume. Maybe even CI/CD pipeline. Got it with me so far? Kanban. Important word, Kanban should be in there, 100%. Then you want to have WIP limits in your resume, especially if you're applying for an Agile proficient company. Refinement, Jira, also good certification to have on your resume, something around Jira or something around DevOps. Two totally different topics, but good certifications too. Transformation. Many companies are going through Agile transformations, and they would often filter candidates based on that keyword, or Agile transformation, safe transformation. So highlight those things in there as well. Good with me so far? Got it? Got all of those? They're also in chat. Yeah, okay. So make sure that you highlight these buzzwords in your resume in those outcome focused sentences. Most of them would show up in what you did portion of your sentence, and they would help you get your resume filtered into the process. Another one, which I really am a strong proponent of, is that your resume should have a tagline. And that tagline should ideally go at the very top of your resume, kind of like a brand, just like a company has a tagline. For example, you could have your resume says at the top, Richard Jaswal, Agile coach, blah, blah, blah. You might highlight your certifications. And then below that, in italics, you write, helping teams achieve more than what they ever thought possible. And you see how that could make an impact to a certain set of hiring managers, right? It helps you communicate something directly to them. Good with me? So build a tagline that resonates with you and put that tagline up there in your resume at the very top. And then finally, all of us already know this, certifications are a big deal in our industry, isn't it? It's sometimes funny how much of a big deal certifications can be. Many employers do not care about a master's degree. They care about these two certifications. Would you? And those certifications take like 4 days, $1,000, and a master's degree takes sometimes 6 figures and 2 years, 3 years to complete. But that is also good news, isn't it? Especially if you do not have a master's degree, you could get 3 or 4 most important, most sought after certifications, would cost you a few $1,000s, but now you can instantly build that slight edge from your competition, which means we got to look for a little bit more than what most applicants would have. I recommend a minimum of 3 different types of certifications to help yourself stand out, which means you don't want to get all 3 in Scrum or all 3 in Safe or all 3 in Kanban. You want to spread them out into different areas. What is one certification that everybody that is applying for the job of a Scrum Master would have? Just shout it out. Unmute yourself, shout it out. What is one certification that everybody?
CSM.
The CSM, right?
SSM.
So, which means
OPSM.
if you have CSM, that's good to have CSM because everybody else has it. Otherwise, you'll be on the back foot. But it's not going to help you stand out, right? So I recommend 3, potentially 1 in Scrum, 1 in Safe, minimum 3, 1 in Scrum, 1 in Safe, then potentially 1 in DevOps or Kanban. DevOps is a bigger deal than Kanban right now. So find a DevOps type certification. And then potentially a 4th close one would be Jira or something along those lines. And Jira, you can likely do self-paced certifications too. Like you don't have to attend a live class. There's many online e-learning portals that would help you get certified in Jira. Costs like $50, $100, but you have to go through the process, and that helps you again build that slight edge. But have a minimum of 3 or 4 certifications, and don't see those certifications as a pain in the ass, which is how many people see them. I see that as a hack, isn't it? If I can take 4 certifications and get the job of my dreams, can life be any easier than that? That's the easiest thing you can do. So let's get that out of the way, right? So, and that is the 5th thing, which is going to help you build a stronger profile, eventually a stronger resume, which would also reflect on your LinkedIn account. Have a good headshot. Those things help. Good banner at the top. Okay, but build a strong LinkedIn account, have a good headshot, have a good banner at the top, highlight your tagline. Remember the tagline, right? Highlight your tagline in that banner, and that would instantly help you stand out, especially for recruiters that are going around hunting people on LinkedIn, which is still happening in significant volumes. So that is our resume and LinkedIn. Good. Let's move on. The next one is going to be something that we have indirectly spoken about is network. In other words, be visible. Take the time to be visible. In other words, grow your LinkedIn profile. In a research that I recently read in Harvard Business Review around current trends in the tech job market, and I'll share it with you, they highlighted that 88% of those hiring managers that made a hiring decision in the last 12 months claimed to have looked at the applicant's LinkedIn account at least once before they made an offer. 88%, which means your hiring manager is going to look you up on your LinkedIn profile. Now, again, the good news is you control what they see, isn't it? So you got to make sure you showcase what you want them to see. What would generally help is if you are somebody who is well connected in the industry, besides all those different things that we have spoken about, right? Headshots and good banner at the top, good tagline, outcome-focused elements, certifications, but also good network helps. Many companies want to connect with individuals that are out there in the industry, that are out there trying to learn and connect with individuals. Comment on posts that are relevant to our Agile industry. Shows that you're somebody who's outgoing, but also is connected to what's happening in the community. Many organizations, in fact, the tech industry is in a very, it's in the maturity process. Software development essentially is only 50 years old, isn't it? Software development started in 1970s or so. So we're around 50 years old, which is not a long time as you compare this industry to many other industries, which are 100, 200, 300, 400 years old. If you compare banking, insurance, supply chain, construction, and so on. As a result, because this industry is so young right now, we're seeing a lot of variability across the process. Have you seen that? No two companies work in exactly the same way, right? Epic for one company, story for another company, feature for one company. Have you seen those things? There's some companies that are still in that mindset of project management. There's other companies that hate the word project management. They're more focused on product management and so on. So there's all these kinds of things that we're seeing in the industry, and which is common when an industry is in its maturity path. So if we can showcase that we are individuals that truly understand how this industry is operating, how this industry is maturing, again, we're looking to build that slight edge. Now, is everything going to resonate with everybody? No. But we don't want it to resonate with everybody. We're looking for that one customer. You with me? I'll give you an example. When I started on my path to consulting and training, I was only 27 years old. So 9 years ago, I'm 35 now. I was 27 back then. Many people said, Harry, you're too young to be a trainer. Nobody's going to sign up for your classes, and nobody's going to hire you as a consultant. I'm like, fuck you all. I'm going to first write a book on how do you be a good consultant. So I wrote a book when I was only 27. Is that a good book? No. But it helped me resonate with certain individuals. For a small section of the industry, now they perceive me a little bit differently. Would you agree? Oh, he's written a book, and my book hit best-selling status in a number of countries for a couple times on Amazon, right? Now, what am I looking for? Slight edge for a small section of the, for a lot of people, oh, what's a big deal in writing a book? Sure. But for a small number of people, it means something to them. And all you need is a slight edge to get your foot in the door. Because if I keep doing what everybody is doing, I'll keep getting what everybody is getting. Right? So path to success, especially if you want to defy odds and if you want to grow at a pace that most people would not, we got to be willing to do what most people will not. So network, be visible, and then this one is big, the next one that I'm going to highlight. Bypass the formal process. Bypass the formal process. Now, this is big. This could be a game changer for us. Bypass the formal process. As I mentioned, market is tough right now, isn't it? It's probably the toughest market that we have seen in the last 8, 9, 10 years in the tech development space. So it is the, it's tough. And therefore, this has become really important. If we're going through the application process, applying online, waiting for an interview call, it may not work. Now, all of these things would increase our chances of success, but you never know. Still, the competition is really high, right? So what does that mean? Bypass the formal process. Let's say you see a job being posted at Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is looking for a product owner on one of their teams. Cool. What would I do if I was in your position and I think I'm a good candidate for that product owner job in Wells Fargo? I would write an email to hr@wellsfargo.com. Here's what I say in the email. You want to note this down. Here's what I would say in the email. In the subject line, I'd write quick question. That's it. Quick question. In the body of the email, I write, hey, HR team, I was wondering if you could connect me to the hiring manager for this specific job. I have a few quick questions I'd like to clarify. Thanks, Mariama, and post your LinkedIn link if you like. So what did I say? Quick question in the subject line. And in the body of my email, I had one or couple sentences. Hey, HR team, I was wondering if you could connect me with the hiring manager for this specific job. I have a few questions that I'd like to clarify before I apply for the job. Everybody got it? Now, if you send 10 of those emails out, you're going to get potentially 2 responses. You with me? 2 out of 10, maybe 1 out of 10. Now you are in touch with the hiring manager now. Connect with that individual over a 15-minute long coffee chat, ask them some potentially good questions, position yourself appropriately. Now your mastery, your passion, all those things are going to come into play, and likely you will be able to bypass the formal process and you get a backdoor entry into an interview room. That's what I call getting a backdoor entry into an interview room. Because sometimes, especially if you do not have relevant experience, which many of us do not, if you have not been a Scrum Master, if you're completely switching careers, if you're a teacher in the past and you're planning to become a Scrum Master, oh, in that case, this is going to become even more critical, because the formal hiring route is not going to shortlist you. It's not going to get you in the door. So in that case, this becomes even more important. Another method to bypass the hiring process is to search for those individuals on LinkedIn. So often when you see a job post being posted, then they would say, reporting to the director of X, Y, and Z. Have you seen that? Now, what would I do? I would go and look on LinkedIn for people that have that job. You may not be able to find that exact person, but you may be able to get down to 3 potential individuals which are hiring managers for that specific position. Again, that's all we need. Get message across to them. Add them on LinkedIn. Write a short note, something like, hey, I noticed that you're hiring for this specific position. I had a few questions before I apply, make sure that we are going to be a good fit. So bypass the hiring process, but at no point, so this is a short asterisk that I'm going to highlight. Do not look desperate. Would you agree? Nobody wants to hire a desperate individual. In fact, research suggests we often run away from desperate individuals. Good case in point, dating world, isn't it? Who do you want to date? The person who texts you 25 times a day, or the person who seems to be hard to get? Right? So now the answer is it depends, but when we start to look desperate, we start to often dilute our value proposition. They feel like, oh, this person might not be good. That's why they are so desperate. That's why nobody is wanting to hire this person. Now, how do you not look desperate when you are desperate? That's a tough one, no? How do you not look desperate? So here's some statements that I'm going to invite you to write down. You want to use statements like, I want to explore. Use the word explore is a powerful word. I want to explore our fit before I apply. Now, what is that making you sound like? Yeah, this person is genuine. He's not just out there looking for any job. This person is looking for the right job, right? I want to make sure that there is mutual fit in between us. At times, you might also want to use the word, if I choose the statement, if I choose to apply for this job. If I choose to apply for this job, I want to make sure that it is the right job for me and I'm the right candidate. Now, these are subtle things, right? If I choose to apply for this job, you're taking power away from that hiring manager. Do you see that? Which is what the law of scarcity says. What does the law of scarcity say? Anybody's heard of the law of scarcity from human psychology? What does the law of scarcity say? Human beings want what they cannot have. We want more of what is less. And we tend to chase what runs away from us. So the fact that you are pretending to be somebody who is very conscious on where they apply, If I choose to apply, now that statement is subtle, but it's going to give a subconscious message to the hiring manager that this person is not just fooling around and they're not just desperately applying for jobs, they are being strategic. And we need to sell ourselves to this person to get his application. Do you see what that means? Now you've turned tables around. Now all of a sudden you're saying, if I choose to, which means I have the power to start this conversation. Now subtle things, but these things would eventually convey the message that this person is smart, balanced, and not desperate, which are all traits of individuals that organizations want to hire. With me? Another thing, to not be desperate while you are desperate is to build options. I get it. It's really difficult to not be desperate when you are. I've been there. But the way around that is to work hard for a few weeks and build your pipeline of potential job opportunities. If you know that you have 3 potential job opportunities in the pipeline, you're having conversations, you are automatically going to be less desperate in all of those conversations. But if this is the only job offering or this is the only conversation that has clicked for you for the last 6 weeks, then odds are against us, which means put some initial work, get the ball rolling, work hard for a week, get emails going, reach out LinkedIn hiring managers, work on all of these things so that you can fill your pipeline up. And that would enable you to be a little more calm, more relaxed, and not look desperate in the process. Yeah, okay. So that is our network, be visible, bypass the hiring process. The last one is, which I already mentioned, is apply, which means you got to put some initial work to get enough leads in the pipeline. And that would eventually give you the luxury to have more open conversations, be more relaxed in your conversations with the conversations that you do end up landing. Cool. All set. That wraps up our strategies for getting more interview calls. And with this, we are into the last part of our conversation, which is about how do you kill it in the interview, because that's when you eventually close the deal. And this is where it starts to get real, because you can have somebody else write your resume, you can have somebody else write a LinkedIn account, but you eventually got to crack the interview yourself. Now, here again, I'm going to highlight the importance of mastery in our process. I cannot highlight this enough, and this has become more and more critical in today's market conditions than it was a few years ago, because this gives you an instant method to differentiate yourself. If you truly have mastery on what a good Agile team, what a good Agile implementation, what good system design, what good DevOps, what a good CI/CD, and it's not something that takes you months to master. It's something that would potentially take you a couple weeks to master if if you're strategic in how you go about those things. If you end up attending good classes, watch good YouTube videos, read good books, end up in classes with good instructors, this is not something that is very difficult. It might come across as overwhelming, but you can truly master the nuances, and more specifically the why of what we do in Agile organizations, and also the how, which are the 2 components that very few people understand. Most people understand the what of what we do, isn't it? What is sprint? What is a sprint? What is a sprint planning meeting? What is a daily stand-up? Now, why is a daily stand-up important? What are the risks of not having a daily stand-up? How do you deal with a situation where the team does not see value in daily stand-up? How do you deal with a situation where a team's daily stand-up sounds something like this? Yeah, yesterday I worked on Jira ticket number 434. Today I'm going to work on Jira ticket number 647. No impediments. Seen those kind of daily stand-ups? Now, how do you deal with that daily stand-up? Very few people can answer that question, right? Those are the things that mastery eventually reflects out in the interview room. And having been on the hiring side of an interview table probably 300 times in the last many years, what I've seen is that this mastery reflects. And this mastery is the main reason why people would get hired as compared to other individuals. Okay. And this is again textbook mastery. I'm not talking about things like, oh, I've worked on 74 different products at in my last job and have resulted in $44 million. I'm talking about textbook mastery of certain simple things like what does good architecture look like? What does good DevOps look like? What is DevOps? Right? What is a good CI/CD pipeline? What is the trade-offs associated with implementing DevOps and CI/CD in a given Agile team or in a given value stream and so on? Okay. So answer those, build true textbook mastery. I get it, building true experience-driven mastery is hard for most of us, and we can't get it done overnight. And that truly comes with experience, but textbook mastery can be done through immersing ourselves in content, in conversations like this, watching YouTube videos, reading good books, attending courses on udemy.com. Anybody's heard of udemy.com? Udemy.com, right? Inexpensive courses. I use that extensively. Many things that I learned about DevOps, architecture, CI/CD pipeline, and all those things I learned from udemy.com courses. I attended many live courses as well, but those pre-recorded courses give you the flexibility to absorb that information on your own time, right? So develop that true mastery. The second is, and this one is especially critical for individuals which have some downside in their profile, which means you do not have relevant experience, or you have a gap in your career, or you were unemployed for a long time, right? So which means there is something that is bringing your relevance or bringing the weight of your application down. In those cases, this becomes even more critical, but it's required all the time, which is communicate the why behind your application. Communicate the why behind your intention to get this job. Now, most people over the course of their application process focus on the what and the how in their pitch. Most people focus on the what and the how in their pitch. Now, what does that mean? Let's say I'm interviewing a potential candidate for the job of a Scrum Master, and I might have a 45-minute long interview with that person or a 60-minute long interview with that person. The main message that I often get from those interviews is that this person is saying, hey, I am very passionate about this job of a Scrum Master. I have these 3 or 4 main certifications that I've recently completed, and I believe I've done similar things in my previous job. I used to facilitate X, Y, and Z, and I was working in a team. We were trying to implement Agile, and I can do the same things for your company as well. You with me? Is that a typical pitch that people have now, they may not say the exact same thing all the time, and they may not say it all in the same sentence, but that's the overarching pitch that individuals have when they are applying for a job. You with me? It was a very mechanical pitch is what I call those pitches, where they're trying to sell themselves using things like, I have these certifications, I've done similar things in the past, and I want this job, and I'm keen on this job, and I can do similar things for your company, right? That's the essential pitch that many people are making. Now, what is a why-driven pitch? Anybody here who does not have experience as a Scrum Master, but you want the job as a Scrum Master? So I'm going to do something on the spot live. I'm going to make something up. Okay, let's work with Warren, if that's okay, Warren. Warren, can you tell me a little bit about your previous job and what you've done in the past?
Well, I've worked for a number of years managing a restaurant in the city of Atlanta. I've also did a number of years of network engineering here in the city as well. And I recently have decided I needed to change and have pursued my career with SAFe.
Got it. And your most recent job was working as a restaurant manager?
Yes, it's one of my most recent jobs.
Okay. And what is the ideal job that you're looking for? What role in what type of a company?
Ideally, I would like to work in a large conglomerate, maybe even government, on projects as a Scrum Master, project owner. Okay,
so let's say Warren wants a job of a Scrum Master in a government organization, and working as a Scrum Master in a government organization, helping them become more proficient in Agile. His most recent role was working as a restaurant manager in Atlanta. In the past, he's worked in network engineering as well. Everybody with us? What the situation is? Now, if I was Warren, how would I communicate my why over the course of an interview? I would say something like, at different points in the conversation, I'd say, with everything that I've done in the last 15 years in my career across a number of different industries, the core has always been building high-performing teams that defy odds. Whether that was me coaching my high school baseball team, whether that was in my most recent position, implementing, advanced technologies in my restaurants to help grow revenue, whether that was in my network engineering position where we implemented advanced fiber optics networks across the city of Atlanta, the core has been building high-performing teams. I believe in the power of Agile. I believe in the power of strong, high-performing teams. I believe in the power of implementing these practices in our government organizations to truly transform the world for the better. I've been noticing very closely all the work that we are doing in the US Department of Veteran Affairs and the new project initiatives that we're taking on and the new investments that we're making to improve the life of our veterans. I truly associate and connect with that cause and that mission. And I believe if both of us join forces, and if I can bring my expertise on your mission to transform the lives of veterans across US, we can truly change the world for the better.
I would not sound that good. That was good. That was very good.
So do you notice that the main focus of my entire pitch was why I want why this job matters to me, and why I could be a good fit for this position. Now, interestingly, did I mention that I have certifications in my pitch? No. Did I mention I have relevant experience? Now, I tried to embellish my current, whatever experience I had, and I tried to align it with the job of a Scrum Master in a government organization. But my primary focus was on the why I want a certain job. And as I said, this becomes critical when you do not have as many on-paper things to sell yourself. I do not have relevant experience. Warren is working in a restaurant. No way that's close to a tech team, but he can showcase his why. And again, how many customers are we looking for? One customer, right? Now, that pitch is not going to resonate with everybody. I get it. But we don't want everybody to hire us anyways. We want just one job, and somebody is going to resonate with that pitch. Somebody is going to connect with Warren in the way that he communicates and the passion that he brings to the table, provided he checks off these boxes as well. You with me? right? Checking off these boxes are important. As I said, no pitch, no hacks are going to work if we truly do not have mastery on those core concepts. But it's going to resonate with somebody, and somebody is going to actually even get goosebumps on how Warren feels about the work that this government organization is trying to do and how it associates with his mission. Maybe Warren is applying for, I made it up, US Department of Veteran Affairs. Maybe he is a veteran. Maybe his dad is a veteran. Maybe his sister is a veteran, right? And how he associates, how he connects with that mission that that organization is on, and how he can join forces to help drive Agile transformation forward. So last one, which is around how do you answer questions? And this is more mechanical, but you're going to run into some mechanical questions. Hey, Warren, can you give us an example of a situation where you had to deal with conflict, or you had to resolve conflict in a team, or you had to drive a team through a transformation? Now, the template that I always encourage anybody that I guide in their job search process is this CAR. Anybody's heard of this before? It's not something I created. It's something that was taught to me many years ago. It stands for context, action, result. Context, action, result.
I think we heard about STAR.
Yeah, there's many others, right? And this one is, I think, keeps it concise. There is only 3 parts to it, but you could use any other answering techniques as well. The main idea is it keeps our answer concise, because often, especially when you're in the pressure of an interview, would you agree that it's very easy to keep on rambling, right? So this template keeps you concise and on track. And practice this out. So context, give 1 sentence description of the situation. Let's say the question that you've been given is, can you give us an example of a situation where you implemented changes in a team or in an organization? Okay, context. Yes, of course. This was from 2019, and the network engineering company that I was working in was implementing Agile in their fiber optics process. And I was a team lead for the Atlanta team. You with me? So that's the context. 1 sentence. Again, we don't want to go too far in, because then we lose our interviewers. 1 sentence or a couple sentence action. What did I do in this? As a team lead for the Atlanta team, I used ADKAR approaches and Kotter's 8-step change management approaches to implement that new way of working, coaching individuals through that change, dealing with resistance. And as a result, we were able to successfully implement that change, resulting in $3 million in reduced fiber optics expenses for the business. You see how I use this? Context, action, result. Now, when you show the result, make the result quantified, right? Try to tie it into something that is quantifiable. For example, resulted in improved velocity, improved employee engagement, improved time market for our product. We were able to reduce our defect count. Right? Whatever those metrics are, showcase a quantified metric in your result, and try to keep things concise, because interviewers can always ask you a further question. Can you explain a little bit more on how you did? Yes, and then we can explain. But initially, following this approach helps us keep things concise. Good. All right, so with this, we are all done with our conversation